Hi, so I am Kirsty and I am the children's bookseller at Kibworth Books. We are in Leicestershire, and this is now going to be our 15th year of taking part in World Book Day. And it's really nice to have some time with you, Sanchita, to talk to you because I said we've been doing it for a long time. We do World Book Day in our way, but it's always really good to talk to another bookseller and find out how you are doing World Book Day and sort of learn from each other. And it's just interesting to hear, particularly with you being a specialist bookshop, a children's bookshop. So yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I've got some burning questions for you.
Fantastic. So I am Sanchita. I'm the owner of the Children's Bookshop. We're a really old children's bookshop. We're 50 this year. And so we've been doing World Book Day, presumably since the inception. I bought the bookshop about 8 years ago, but I've been here much longer than that. And it's been quite interesting because over that period, the way we've done World Book Day has really evolved as well. So we used to do it in one way, and now it's become a completely different beast of its own. So I'm really interested in discussing those changes as well, because all of those ways were right at the time.
That will probably be the first question I would like to ask then, because I'd love to know what a typical World Book Day looks like for you,
Mm.
and perhaps then adding on to that. So what have been the main changes in how you have engaged with the day, and were there sort of reasons for why you made those changes?
When I first came to the bookshop, and sort of bright-eyed kid, when I was first here, World Book Day was always an amazingly exciting thing. It's a birthday for everyone to join in on, a book birthday, a huge party. Um, and we used to do party bags for children who would come in on the day. We would do maybe an event or two, and then we'd always have a book signing on the Saturday following the World Book Day, because everyone would always come in on that Saturday to spend their tokens. It was a nice reason for them to come in as well. And it was just always really lovely. And, we were all in our early 20s, and we'd all get dressed up every Thursday. And it was a bit like a Christmas, and we'd all be very giggly, and it would be really fun.
Amazing.
Somehow, over the last, I guess, every year, increasingly, it has just become completely manic and insane. And it's not a day, it's more than a week. It's a jamboree. It's such a party. It's such a burst of reading celebration shared all over. And it just spreads, and there's such fervor for it. And it feels like every school wants to get involved somehow, and they are so grateful for any way we can keep them part of the loop, and I can't say no. So yes, as much as my staff might want me to. So now it's just it's completely huge for us. I can't imagine not having it. I mean, A, from a business point of view, but B, just it's such a fun thing I feel like the year gets started with World Book
Oh,
Day.
that's a nice way to think about it, isn't it? So what sorts of things then will you do in the run up and on the day itself and surrounding it? What would be like the key events that happen in the bookshop, and then in terms of engagement with schools for you?
Enough of it is still what we used to do back in the day. So we still all dress up on the day. We completely deck the shop out. We make little party bags for everyone, or little gift bags. We in the lead up to World Book Day, we'll get in touch with all the publishers and ask them to send us any bits and bobs that they have that they want to send to a nice resource. All the POS that they've had from the previous year that they haven't managed to do anything with.
Yeah.
It all comes together, and we do spend a good day or two just making hundreds of little paper bags to give out to people. So that's always just kind of fun. And then in the shop, we do story times on the day. We invite classes in to come along, the little ones from local schools. They'll get stories from us. Sometimes the older ones will come in and spend their vouchers, but it's normally the little ones, because for most of the older age groups in most of the local schools, we are putting events in and authors in over that week or over that fortnight, just so that they can really get the most of it. And then on World Book Day, they are mostly all dressed up and mostly having their internal school things. So the actual World Book Day, we tend to keep more focused in the shop.
Lovely. Gosh, this is amazing. It's very
What do you
exciting.
do? What do you
Yeah,
do?
so we engage with World Book Day every single year, and I think the main thing that we do is I always every year try and reach out to schools beforehand and kind of say, we're here, remember that we are here and that we want to engage with you on World Book Day. And we love going into schools if we can, if possible, and doing an event. This year, it's really nice because we've had a school who they'd already sort of got an author kind of booked in, and they wanted to use World Book Day as an opportunity to open their new school library, and so they've got this author coming in, and we're going to go in and do a bookstore, and that just like fits really nicely. And then within the shop, it's always a really lovely sort of buzzy, busy day with kids coming in and using their vouchers, and that's always really nice to see. Um, on the sort of nitty gritty of organisation though, and I think this is one of these things that will vary so much from bookshop to bookshop, is we are quite a small team, and so as much as we might be really ambitious to do more and more and more around World Book Day, you have to sort of work with the organisation structure that you've got, don't you? So how does planning work for you? Like, when do you start planning for World Book Day? How does that work within your team and the sort of delegation and so on? Just if you were a sort of new bookseller, or maybe you're engaging for the first time, what sort of advice would you give in terms of that planning ahead for World Book Day?
So we, in some ways, that week starts getting plotted out quite far in advance for us, because there are schools who we just go in annually on a particular day, and so they want us back in. So then I know I am in schools almost every day that week.
Yeah,
because
it's sort of
I'm
in the
taking a
calendar
book fair
every
there.
year.
Yeah. And I know I'm doing a book fair in this school, and I know I'm doing a book fair in that school. And they're always all day events because the classes come in one by one in that sort of
Yeah.
quite nice way.
And what do you do when you're going into schools? Are you doing sort of talks to students about
Yeah.
books you love, or how does
Yeah.
that work when you do your school visits?
It varies a lot. But the main thing is you want to offer something very different to a scholastic book fair, because that is probably what we find a lot of schools maybe are used to. But then actually the selection of books isn't quite as nicely curated. No one's there to talk you through it. So you have to make it as lovely and as personal an experience. And I think that's what all booksellers want to do as well. No one wants to stand
Absolutely.
there like a lemon and take someone's, and just you can't see a kid go off with the wrong book. So
Yes.
I would much rather be there for a slightly longer amount of day, talk to the children, tell them stories, tell them my favorites, have that proper conversation, because then the schools feel it's a really good use of time. They really promote it. And the children really feel valued. They feel special. They remember you year after year when you're going in. And it's like a catch up when you go. There are some schools I go into every year, and it's just wonderful seeing them all grow. It's gorgeous. I love
That's
it.
lovely, isn't it? That sense of being part of their reading journey, that it's not just that one day of World Book Day, it is about promoting that joy of reading, and that they are on this journey throughout the whole of their life. That's so nice. So that gets scheduled in, you're in every year, they just know
That's
it.
there.
That's your part of schools, you're in every year.
We're not a huge team. We're about a team of 4 or 5, I guess. But what I do, I think it's quite useful to think of, well, certainly the way I think of it is I do think of it as being like Christmas. And I think for 10 days, we need everyone there. So maybe even if it's part-time people, I say you've got to, this is the week where we're full-time. Frankly, family members don't have much of a choice in the matter. They're helping out. Volunteer, like anyone who I can get to help us out week after week, day after day over this period. Every bit of it is helpful, because you obviously need people in the shop.
Yes.
But I think the more people who we can send out, obviously if you've set up author events, you need to try and support them with our presence. Although more and more I've had to start saying, it's okay, we've got a very good teacher or librarian there. They're people who we trust and who we work with. So they can look after it. Pre-sales will be organized. So, but for that, you have to talk to the publishers and the events team to just make sure that they believe and they know that it is going to be in good hands when they're there, if you can't physically be there. So there's a little bit of that which I've had to start doing over the last year or two as well. Whereas ordinarily I'd love for one of us to be there the whole time, but it turns out it's not possible to do.
No, and I think that's probably the case, isn't it, for lots of bookshops? I mean, at the end of the day, you've only got the size of the team that that you have, and you can't be everywhere.
And do you think you can tell us a little bit about what your experiences of World Book Day are? Because obviously we're a specialist children's bookshop, so people do come to us first, but you have so many different branches. How do you go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important point, because we are not a specialist children's bookshop. We are a general all through bookseller, and my role within the team is the children's bookseller. So my role is that I'm the school's liaison and children's buyer and so on. And so that means that in terms of planning and preparation for World Book Day, it is mainly me. Obviously, the team are all involved and everyone's excited about it and are involved in the day. But that means that that planning and preparation really is me reaching out to schools and so on. But so I would say, still in terms of the day itself, everybody's on board in the shop. Everybody, everybody knows it's World Book Day and excited about it, and we're talking about it, and are really kind of excited when children are coming through the door. In terms of then what that means for our scope for going out and doing things with schools, it's obviously they're more reduced to what I can manage to do on the day. And so I think that's maybe an important point for booksellers that are managing everything else as well, that even if you're just doing one thing as one person, going out and working with one school on the day, that's still really exciting and really fantastic to do. And then the rest of the team are in the shop on the day and welcoming kids in through the door.
That's what you need, the full team.
Yeah. How do you, so you have lots of schools who you partner with and they're long-standing partners, and it's kind of in the diary every year and you're going to work with them. How do you manage things in terms of prioritizing schools that you work with, and how do you deal with those inevitable last minute requests that we all get? One landed in the inbox today, and it's not even that last minute for us, but we all get those, suddenly a school that you haven't heard from before that want to work with you, which is amazing, and we want to do that. How do you prioritize that? Do you find that happens, or are you actively going out to schools and kind of saying, we want to work with you, we want to bring World Book Day excitement to you?
I would say so around this time is when I check in with a lot of the schools who I know are likely to want something and may not have got something in place yet. And I say, what are your plans for World Book Day? Can we organize that now?
Yes.
Rather than in 2 weeks' time? So that is what I have been doing. And most teachers are normally very grateful, because it's just they haven't managed to get around to it yet.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, but what I find is that the schools that get in touch last minute are so desperate for anything, it's quite easy to find something that they can do. World Book Day itself, and I find a lot of it is just about helping them find the right solution. So World Book Day itself is really such a party that you can just give them various ideas. The World Book Day website itself has amazing resources, so I love to direct people to that if they're panicking as to what they should be doing on the day.
Absolutely.
I know at any given point all the authors will be doing lots of lovely talks and online sessions and recordings that they can, I sort of say it quite blindly, that they should have a look and get involved in. But I also find that you can tell them that you can't physically do their book stall for them, but you will curate a selection of books and give it to them. And if they can man the bookshop, they will be very happy to man a pop-up bookshop most of the time, and organize parents to look after it. And I find that tends to appease a lot of schools if they're sort of quite desperate and last minute. And then it's brilliant just to remind them that actually it doesn't have to just be in that 1 week.
On that,
it
doesn't have to be on that day, does it? No,
it does not have to be over there. If they concentrate their energy into, making their day or what have you, into doing little book activities over that period, then we can, because they're normally asking for an author very last minute. And you can say, oh, it's fine, we can look at that a little bit further down, building on hopefully lots of lovely enthusiasm and reading culture that you've been doing over this period.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important. I think sometimes, like you say, schools kind of just, maybe they're thinking we want something to happen on this day because it's World Book Day, but actually the whole point of it is beyond that day, isn't it? And then engaging with a bookshop that can support children in their reading journey that's an ongoing thing. I wanted to ask about about the tokens and the books. In terms of the children coming in with their tokens, do you feel how do you find do you feel that like you are having customers come through the door with their tokens who you sort of already know, they're known customers to the bookshop, or do you find that it is bringing people in who you wouldn't normally reach out to, and do you feel that that has an impact kind of longer term, that you're sort of getting new children in and new and building new relationships with children in terms of their reading journey?
I'm quite honest, which is I think we always see there are always people with their vouchers who are brand new to us, and we'll see them this one time and then they vanish into the ether. We
Yeah.
will never see them again. And that's fine, because really what you've got to hope is that when they come in and they're getting that book, that is a really magical experience for them. They're coming to a special space, they're having a brilliant time, and hopefully meeting lots of excitable people about books. That is the experience, and I think they will have had a brilliant one. And we may not see them again. We may not see those families again. Maybe we will next year, maybe we won't. We do always see a lot of people who are brand new to us, and we don't necessarily always see them again, but that's fine.
I think we find that as well. And you sort of feel like you hope that even if it was that one visit, it will stick in the mind. It's why I feel like it's important that when people come in, it is a thing of excitement, like, oh my goodness, you've got your token, oh my god, like, what are you going to choose? And it's really exciting because, like you say, it might be that they don't come in again, but you hope that that memory will stay in their head and that they feel like, I could go back to that bookshop, that was safe, that was happy, that was joyous, I could go back to there at some point and know that I'm welcome. And I think that's really important. Do you find post event that you have a lot of books left over? And if you do, what do you do with those? Or is it just...
as in World Book Day books?
Yeah.
I always overorder, because I also always have schools calling me in a panic, saying, do you have 50 World Book Day books? So I always overorder, so that I'm not letting anyone down. Because I don't like to do that. And then they always go to good homes. We do, I mean, they take up a certain amount of shelf space until they go to good homes. But they go to schools who didn't get to us in time. They go to schools who just don't have that sort of resources to be able to get themselves organized. They go to virtual schools. They go to hospitals. They do go to party bags. They make very good bags. But they find good homes everywhere. They go to charity. They go to basically all our outreach things. They wind up over the following year.
That's great. Yeah, that's really nice. I think they're really appreciated, aren't they, when you sort of send them into schools, and they especially there've been times where schools haven't asked for them, but it's been, maybe they've placed an order with you for something else. You say, by the way, would you also like these? Or they've told you about a project that they're working on in the school, and you say, well, actually, would you like these? Just, it's a nice thing. It feels like a nice thing to do, for sure.
There's another school another bookshop, I can't remember who it is, and she was giving them out to prisons. Who was it who was doing that? I can't remember.
I think that rings a bell. So
I think everyone is so grateful for them, however they turn up.
Yes, yeah. I think one of the sort of final questions I wanted to ask, just to make, and this is kind of, I suppose, sort of summing up everything, but what do you feel is the biggest benefit to you? Obviously, World Book Day is not about benefit to booksellers. It's about reading, and it's about children's reading journey. But we engage in it. We're part of it, and it's something that booksellers want to do in a considered way, and want to make it successful, and want to have a good impact. And that's why we think so carefully about how we take part in it. But what do you think has been the biggest benefit to you as a bookshop and as a team in taking part in World Book Day?
I wish I could respond to this as a proper adult. I think it still feels like I'm participating in a wonderful party, in a joyous, writerly, bookish celebration. And it's everything I loved about World Book Day as a kid when I was in school. And I just think I'm still giving that to children, and they are getting to enjoy it, and I know the teachers and the schools and the adults are enjoying it as well. It feels a bit like a continuation of that. And I think the overall benefit is probably mainly just I think the emotional response we all feel. We are all knackered at the end of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's a busy day. Yeah.
This year there is not enough wine to go around by the time we're done with that week. But you know, it's just you feel good. It is, you know, the children are happy. You know they're going to remember it, and they do, because they come back over the next following months, years, telling us about how they enjoyed it. If we put a special event on for them, what they remember about it, what they wrote from it. I love it when they bring in the books that they, and the stories and the writing that they've created, inspired by the authors who they've read or seen. It's brilliant. It just
It's magic, isn't it?
going.
I think one of the for me, one of the sort of the magical sort of benefits of it is that just that, and it's something that we will never sort of know. You might not ever see the result of it. It's a bit sort of like dropping a penny down a well and you don't know when it's going to actually hit the bottom. But just that feeling that you just don't know if a child has come in and they've exchanged their token and they've got their book, and you might not ever see the impact that had on them in terms of becoming a reader. And there's something a bit magic about that, isn't there? That maybe they read that and that was the first book that they really enjoyed or felt like they've really owned, and but you don't know what that's going to lead them to in terms of what they read next. And that's quite a sort of like, that's quite a nice privileged position to be in, I think, isn't it? To welcome someone into your bookshop space and feel like that it's had an impact in that way.
Yeah.
The final thing I was wondering is if people are watching this conversation and they are a new bookseller or a very small bookshop just starting out, perhaps it's the first time that they've ever engaged with World Book Day, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe listening to all of this and thinking, this sounds incredible, but it's so overwhelming and I just don't know how we would ever do that? What advice would you give?
I think I would say do whatever feels manageable for you. And I would start by just making the bookshop the most welcoming place possible for anyone who's spending that voucher, so that anyone who's buying that £1 book goes away feeling like that was a real treat. That was like stepping through the wardrobe. I think anything else that you can manage, you know, write to 3 local schools, see if they want a hand on World Book Day in any way. They will come back and say yes. But start, I think, with your environment and build out from there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of start small, and it can grow, can't it? These things can sort of snowball over time.
And that's what's happened for us. Like I say, it used to be nice but a bit more low-key for us, and now it's this thing. And that sort of happened without me realizing it. So hopefully any new booksellers who are watching this now, in 10 years' time, they'll go, God, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. It's so fascinating. It's always nice to have a chat with another bookseller, isn't it?
I love hearing about what everyone else is doing.
It's great.
Oh, thank you. Good luck for it.